Welcome again to CEO Central. Well, today I'm going to talk about two issues. The first, the continuation of our campaign against mandatory pre-commitment, the licence to punt, and the tremendous response that we're getting around New South Wales from clubs, their members and their supporters as they rally together against this crazy policy. I'll also talk about the 3 strikes legislation recently introduced into New South Wales Parliament by Minister Souris. I was down in Braidwood in southern country New South Wales just last week with our President Peter Newell, and we saw about 500 people come from all over the electorate of Eden-Monaro, right in the middle of that electorate, to tell their local member Mike Kelly MP that he should go back to Canberra and represent the people of Eden-Monaro rather than stick to a crazy agreement that his Prime Minister entered into with Andrew Wilkie. It was a terrific event. And they heard from 3 politicians, their state MP, the New South Wales opposition spokesman on gaming and racing, and Mike Kelly. They heard from the local mayor. There was another 2 mayors in attendance. They heard from a local club president and club manager. It was a great broad cross-section of the club community, and their message was very clear. Stop this, go back to Canberra, drop the deal and start again. Now, these rallies and community meetings are happening all over New South Wales. There could be 14 or 15 in total, probably all done before the end of August or into early September. And Clubs New South Wales will put out an advice via circular about where all of these will happen. They will happen in individual electorates. They're all marginal electorates, most of them held by Labor MPs. The next one is in Sydney on the 25th of July at South Juniors, and we're expecting a very good roll up there. But they are organised around metropolitan Sydney, but also Newcastle, Wollongong. Up in Tweed Heads, there's a rally on the 26th of July. And again, these will provide a great opportunity for the local community to rally together. Now, these are fairly hard to organise, and Clubs New South Wales is helping, but ultimately it's up to the clubs in each electorate to get together, to work hard, to organise these events and to get the numbers there, to get their members, their supporters, their staff active and engaged on this issue. But it is happening, it's very exciting, and like I said, it's very powerful. And if Braidwood has set a very high benchmark, well, I'm sure that it will be met by clubs in other parts of the state. I want to talk briefly now about the 3 strikes legislation that's been introduced into New South Wales Parliament by Minister Souris. Now, 3 strikes, it's about alcohol-related violence. It was foreshadowed in the Memorandum of Understanding that was signed between Clubs New South Wales and the then New South Wales opposition back in October. And it is about focusing enforcement and compliance activity at troublesome venues. Now, we all know that clubs are the safest of licensed venues. They are family friendly, and clubs do a great job of maintaining that safe environment. What the government is seeking to do is to direct attention to troublesome venues, and we know that there are plenty of those in King's Cross and elsewhere. They're not registered clubs, by the way, they're nightclubs and some pubs. There's a little bit of work to do on this. There are some issues with the legislation. We need to ensure that it is completely fair. There is a significant penalty at the end of all of this. Club managers can actually lose their livelihood if they obtain 3 strikes. So we need to make sure that there are sufficient protections in place and that it is a fair system. And we're working with the CMA and also the other industry associations on a submission that we'll put to Minister Souris to make sure that the legislation that comes out the other end is workable and is fair for all. That's all I wanted to talk about on today's edition of CEO Central. Thank you for joining me. I'll speak to you again soon.